We often hear Zion as a place name, but in this lecture, I want to treat it as a pattern, a picture of the inner temple and the way a man is built. As we move through the passage, I'll keep returning to four ideas that connect everything: foundation, gates, alchemy, and springs. If those four stay in your mind, the whole lesson stays with you. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are solely those of the presenter and do not represent the official positions, doctrines, or teachings of any Masonic Grand Lodge, Grand Council, or other Masonic body or jurisdiction. This content is offered for educational and entertainment purposes only. No part of this presentation should be construed as authorized Masonic instruction, ritual, or esoteric work of any obedience. Viewer discretion and independent study are encouraged. We'll begin by hearing the passage in full. I'll read from the KJV, and we'll also display the NKJV on the slide for clarity of phrasing. As you listen, try to hear the movement of the text. It starts with something established, a foundation. Then it speaks of approach, gates. Then it speaks of people being named, a kind of spiritual citizenship and accounting. And it ends with springs, the source of life and strength. His foundation is in the holy mountains. The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Glorious things are spoken of you, O city of God. Selah. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to those who know me. Behold, O Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia, this one was born there. And of Zion it will be said, this one and that one were born in her, and the Most High himself shall establish her. The Lord will record when he registers the peoples, this one was born there. Selah. Both the singers and the players on instruments say, all my springs are in you. The aim in this lecture is simple. I'm not trying to be complicated, just useful. We'll read Zion as a spiritual pattern and ask, what does this teach a companion about the inner life? Then we'll connect it directly to counsel, how we approach our obligations, how we refine ourselves, and how we keep our strength from the right source. If this lecture does its job, you'll leave with one clear takeaway: how to build a life that holds weight. Here's the key. Zion is not only out there, Zion is also in here. Think of Zion as the center point, the place where a man's life becomes aligned. It's where the divine meets the daily, your temper, your habits, your speech, your decisions, your service. When a man lives scattered, everything is reaction. When a man lives centered, everything becomes ordered. Zion is that picture of an ordered life. These four movements are the map for the rest of the talk. Foundation answers, what am I built on? Gates answers, how do I approach what is sacred? Alchemy/registry answers, what is being changed in me, and what does heaven count as real? Springs answers, where does my strength come from when life gets heavy? Now we'll take them one at a time. A foundation is not what people praise, it's what holds. The phrase holy mountains points to something stable and elevated, principles that don't move just because the world is noisy. In council terms, this is the reminder that our work is not built on personality, popularity, or position. It's built on what is holy, what is true. If I had to name the holy mountains in plain terms, I'd call them immutable principles. Truth, not what is convenient, but what is right. Fidelity, faithfulness to God, to obligation, to brother. Justice and mercy, strength with balance. Reverence, remembering we labor under the eye of the great architect. A man can build fast on sand, but he can only build lasting on principle. This is where the counsel lesson gets practical. The world trains us to manage appearances. The craft trains us to manage character. So the question becomes, what do I do when nobody is watching? How do I speak when I'm not on? What do I choose when it costs me something? That is foundation work, below the surface. A gate is a threshold. It teaches that sacred things are entered with intention. In our tradition, the gate is not a barrier to keep out the worthy. It is a safeguard to keep the work from becoming casual, careless, or common. This slide is a reminder. How you approach determines what you receive. A gate implies 4 habits. Preparation. I don't stumble into sacred space. I ready myself. Examination. I check my motives and my spirit. Intention. I come to labor, not to be entertained. Reverence. I remember who we ultimately serve. If we lose these, we may still meet, but we won't truly build. This verse is striking. The Lord loves the gates more than the dwellings. Private devotion is good and necessary, but this teaches that there is a special blessing on ordered collective work. Men gathered for a higher purpose. A dwelling is private. A gate is shared. A home can shelter faith, but a gate gathers pilgrims. In counsel, we learn that fellowship and labor, rightly ordered, multiply light. This is one reason counsel matters. A man alone can drift. A man with good companions can be steadied. We sharpen one another through example. We steady one another through accountability. We build together through shared purpose. So the gate teaches us not only reverence, but also the value of showing up and laboring in unity. Now, the passage names Rahab and Babylon. Historically, they point to real nations and powers. Symbolically, they point to real inner conditions. Rahab can represent pride and bondage, what enslaves the heart. Babylon can represent confusion and worldly intoxication, what scatters the mind. This is where the lecture turns from where Zion is to what Zion does. Zion refines. If we're honest, every man knows these battles. Ego wants control, always. Habits can enslave quietly. Noise scatters attention until nothing is focused. Ambition intoxicates until we confuse success with worth. Counsel work isn't pretending we don't have these struggles. Counsel work is learning to govern them. Here is the alchemy in plain terms. We take what is raw and make it useful. Pride becomes humility, not weakness, but teachability. Ambition becomes service, energy pointed in the right direction. Confusion becomes order, clear priorities and steady habits. Appetite becomes discipline, mastery rather than slavery. This is the daily work of turning the rough ashlar into a stone fit for the temple. This one was born there is a powerful line. It suggests a second birth, an identity that is higher than tribe, nation, or background. In counsel terms, it's the moment a man stops being defined by where he came from and starts being defined by what he is becoming. It's universal. Heaven recognizes the soul that chooses light, accepts discipline, and submits to being shaped. This is one of the most comforting and challenging ideas in the passage. The world counts what is visible, applause, titles, influence, but the divine registry counts what is real, integrity, repentance, steady labor, quiet sacrifice. So if you've ever felt that doing right goes unnoticed, this verse answers. It may be unnoticed by men, but it is not unrecorded by heaven. The passage ends where every strong life must end, at the source. Springs are fountains, what you draw from when you're tired, disappointed, or tempted to quit. If your springs are external, approval, comfort, status, you will always thirst again. But if your springs are in the divine, you can keep your footing when life is heavy. This is what it looks like when the springs are right. You can labor without bitterness because you're not keeping score. You can lead without vanity because you're not feeding ego. You can serve without applause because your reward isn't dependent on the crowd. That is mature strength, and it blesses everybody we serve. Illustrious companions, let me close by tying the whole lesson together in one charge. First, lay the foundation. Build your inner life on what is holy and unchanging. Second, approach the gate. Treat sacred things with preparation and reverence, and treat council labor as real labor. Third, refine the rough. Practice the daily alchemy that turns pride into humility, ambition into service, and confusion into order. Fourth, draw from the springs. Seek your strength in the divine so you can serve steadily without needing to be seen. So may our labor be steady, our fellowship sincere, and our inner structure found sound when the great architect writeth up the people. Thank you.